Hello everyone, this is Broyar here, and welcome to a guest reaction video to some sort of announcement that is coming on the Firaxis. This is actually the Firaxis Twitch stream, which is also the same thing that's being shown on the Civilization YouTube channel. So, very likely, most likely, a Civilization announcement of some sort. There's been a few potential leaks for some sort of maybe expansion of some sort, but I mean, you can't really. It's hard to trust in leaks and stuff like that, because it'd be very easy for a company to leak fake information themselves just to kind of put people off on a different tangent than what's actually coming out. For example, one of the leaks I've seen recently is like something related to Vesuvius, which obviously there's a lot more tornadoes here. That doesn't mean it couldn't be some sort of natural disaster type of expansion, but we'll see. If you haven't seen any of this Twitch stream that they have going on, it started off with very peaceful clouds and just a whole lot of nothing. We saw a little blip of something there that looked like some sort of video, timer. But anyway, very, very peaceful clouds, and it just slowly got a little bit darker, and then a little bit darker, a little bit, and then eventually started getting the lightning, and then now we've got obviously tornadoes all over the place. And the timer didn't start till about a couple hours ago, I think. This thing's been going on for, I think, almost 24 hours, maybe, or maybe exactly 24 hours. I think it started sometime around noon or 1 o'clock yesterday, Monday, and today is Tuesday. So almost 24 hours. We didn't have the timer for most of the time, so a lot of people were just sitting around watching this, just, wondering if at any point there could have been an announcement. So definitely a lot of interesting build-up to whatever this is. And again, it's very, very likely a Civilization 6 expansion announcement of some sorts, but we'll see. We'll get the reaction here in, I guess, 2 minutes and 4 seconds. But yeah, I'm excited. I think we're due for a new Civilization expansion. The only thing we've heard about Civilization recently was the Switch, kind of rollout, which, more power to them. I don't have a Switch. Maybe I'll get one eventually, but if I did, I don't know that I would have Civilization on it, because that's what I have my PC for. But, maybe they're reaching a certain audience that they weren't able to get with their PC. So more power to them. If they can do it, they can do it. But I definitely think we're overdue for a Civilization 6 PC announcement, and so I'm hoping that this is, in fact, an expansion of some sort. So I guess we'll find out in 1 minute and 22 seconds if their timer is accurate. Yeah, this thing's getting crazy. Look at all them tornadoes. Can't really see with that. I mean, the clouds looked really nice for a while there, and now with all obviously the signal going away here and there, it's, pretty good effect. I mean, obviously we got a nice big city down there, and I don't know how they're going to do natural disasters in Civilization. That's going to be interesting if this is actually part of this. I mean, I guess it's just some sort of random event that comes along that, maybe kind of force pillages some of your tiles. I guess it's possible it could change the terrain a bit. Who knows what they could do with this? It's going to be interesting if this is in fact, kind of pointing to one of the elements that's in the game. But 37 seconds. Oh, here we go. But yeah, I'm excited. Like I said, I'm overdue. I think the last expansion came out February, March, Rise and Fall. So there's speculation this one might be coming out in February this next year. So, expansion per year. Can't go wrong with that. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to some new, first impression videos for any new civilizations that they do announce, or any other details. So I guess this will be the first of those. This kind of, like I said, a reaction video. But yeah, I guess I'm going to stop talking here in a moment and see what they actually do. Here we go.
Hello friends, this is Sid Meier at Firaxis Games. You might be familiar with a game called Civilization. I actually designed that game about 27 years ago. It's been a while since we've had a chance to chat, so how have you been? Thanks, I'm good too. I really never could have imagined back then how the Civilization story would evolve. It's been amazing to watch the growth of the game, the growth of the community, the new ideas that have kind of energized the game, many of them coming from our Civ community. Really, without you, Civ would not have survived all these years. It's been a story of adding new features, of really responding to the needs of our community, the ideas, the suggestions that you provide to us. We made the amazing transition from squares to hexes. added multiplayer play. The internet came along. New systems like religion and espionage and all the ability to mod the game has kind of added a whole new dimension to it. So it's really the Civilization story is really one of a game that has evolved over 27 years, but has never kind of lost that core, that kind of one more turn gameplay. The idea that there's always something new just around the corner, whether it's a new technology that you're working on, a new continent to explore, a new leader to make peace with, or not so much. And in terms of these new features, we've got some new things to talk about. There's a new chapter in the Civ 6 story. We invite you to sit back and take a look.
It's the first time I've seen Sid Meier do kind of an intro for one of these. Kind of interesting.
Human advancement knows no boundary. But this has not been without its price.
Oh, there goes Sean Bean's character dying again.
Though we stand at the height of prosperity, we need only look to the past to remember that nature is a power that cannot be ignored.
Well, there's the Vesuvius plug-in.
Even the mightiest empires, and causing the greatest among us to tremble in her fury.
Uh-oh.
Yet from adversity, the human spirit endures, finding ways to coexist with the earth. Or bend it to our cause. Pursuing a course beyond distant horizons. And revealing paths both towards innovation.
Is that the Panama Canal, maybe? I guess it could be any canal, but...
An unintended catastrophe. Our survival necessitates new solutions to old problems. To ensure a future, both for ourselves and generations to come. United in purpose, we must now look beyond borders and welcome the dawn of the next era.
Okay, so a sea-based city.
Civilization.
Gathering Storm. Alright, alright. I like it. Very interesting. Alright, so we just finished watching the, I guess the first time through the trailer. And then I also, after that, I finished watching a little bit more of the live stream that they had and kind of like they were talking through and some of the features and stuff like that. So I figured we'd come over here to the actual Civilization announcement page and kind of go through some of those details and some of those thoughts that they had and some of my thoughts about you know, some of the new features and things like that. I think to start off with, we're going to go ahead and go through the video again just to see if there's anything we can catch that we missed the first time. So let's go ahead and get this started, and we'll kind of pause it a little bit more often this time to kind of see what type of little features and tidbits we can see. And I'll probably talk a little bit more through this one. But obviously, you know, starting off,
Human advancement.
we know that... I'm actually going to turn down the volume just a little bit. We know that,
This has not
you know,
been without its price.
global warming and, you know, things like that are going to be a big part of this. You know, rising sea levels and you know, the ice breaking apart is definitely going to be a key part of this.
Though we stand at the height of
I think there's a few tidbits here about different civilizations that we're going to get to see, but as well as different kind of features that I haven't actually gone through the list down below, so some of these may be for sure given. We'll see. I mean, starting off here, we're going to see again Mount Vesuvius, which, you know, is in Italy, so maybe another Italian, leader or something. Maybe not. I don't know. Roman leader, Italian leader. I guess probably more Roman than anything if it was going that route. I'm not sure what this one would refer to. I mean, it's a kind of more of a. I don't think he's more Catholic. I think he's more Orthodox or something like that. But we'll see what he comes to. There's probably a specific event that this is referring to. I'm not sure off the top of my head what this one would be. If that's a civilization or not. This one definitely looks like this is going to be a civilization. I mean, this is very likely the Incan Empire coming back. We've seen them before. This obviously looks like Peru. So I have a feeling those are going to be there. I wonder if there's going to be some way to put improvements on mountains or something. Now this one could just be the fact that we're able to. There's repercussions to burning down forests. Now this is obviously probably Polynesia, I would assume. Maybe we can put Moana back into the game or something. I don't know. That's what I look like Moana riding around on her ship. But I don't know if this is a specific civilization or a specific canal, or just the idea that canals in general will be a thing with the rising and lowering of sea levels. I'm assuming canals are going to be a way to get across land that you might have at one point could. Obviously, hurricanes is going to be in this. Tidal waves, maybe. I guess tidal waves will be in this. That's going to be interesting to see that happen. And it seems like there's going to be some ways to defend against these types of natural disasters as well. And then again, as we just talked about before, some way to put cities on the water. I think they hinted in the live stream about some sort of future text, not just the little future tech thing that you just continuously do, but like literally a future era with randomized text that will allow us to do certain kind of things that are don't normally exist. Some of those, and yeah, so that's gonna be interesting to see what happens with that. We're gonna go ahead and go through the rest of this, go through some of the screenshots, things like that. I am literally just kind of going through this word by word, so that's I'm going to give you my reaction to what I'm seeing. So if you want to go read this yourself, by all means, go do. But I'm definitely going to kind of go through this a little bit here. Obviously, the release date's February 14th, which sounds about accurate. Early part of the next year. 8 new civilizations, 9 new leaders. So we are going to get more leaders than civilizations, which is good. We've seen that before. Now, is one of those leaders for a current civilization, or is one of those leaders for one of the new civilizations like they did with I guess they haven't done that. I guess they just did a new leader for India this last expansion, so it was just a new leader for the old civilization, which I expect that to be the case. 7 new world wonders, okay, and a variety of new units, districts, buildings, improvements, and more, etc. So that's good. Obviously, there's a little word from the developer. You guys can probably pause it and kind of read through that. I'm not really going to dig into that too much, but let's see if there's anything here on the screenshot that we can see. I mean, there's a place over here with 2 volcanoes and a nice little farm in between them. Now, I do know from the live stream they talked about how volcanoes, when they erupt, which I'm assuming that's what this is actually, erupted at one point, and this is kind of that volcanic ash that we're seeing. Supposedly the volcanic, like any type of, maybe not any of them, but several of the natural wonders for sure, when they occur, are then going to, there's obviously the initial impact, the negative impact of just disaster to your, whatever's around it. But then there's the follow-up, bonus to production or bonus to food or bonus to whatever it may be. And so it's very likely this farm will get destroyed if one of these erupts, but maybe it will then be more, a better farm, have better, more fertile soil and stuff like that. Obviously some of the floodplains, I think that's what these are, the floodplains here. We got a aqueduct here, and we also have a dam over here, which has created a reservoir. And what this is supposed to do is to kind of help control the flooding a bit better, but also improve kind of the fresh water that the city has. So in much the same way that the aqueduct improves housing, I believe this thing improves housing, as well as eventually giving you more power, which power, electricity is a part of this game as well. This looks... Is this a new wonder? I don't remember this one. I mean, it looks similar to Hagia Sophia, but I don't think I've built it very often, so I don't remember if this is exactly what that looks like. That might be a new one. Anything else we can see here on the edges? I think that's just copper. It may be something new, but it looks like copper. I don't see anything here jumping out at me. But, it's still, you're going to have the city right here. Like I said, the city's right next to both the river and the volcanoes. So there's going to be a lot of disasters coming this way, and it's near the coast. So if the sea levels rise, this city could be in for a lot of trouble, but it could also have a lot of good bonuses from those things occurring. So kind of interesting. Volcanoes, storms, and floods. Oh my. With expansion, they're unleashing the forces of nature to bring the world to life in ways that we've never seen before. So we've got floodplains. Floodplains have already been in the game, like they said, but it's now they're more dynamic, if that's the right word. I guess that's what they're saying. They're not static anymore, like they're saying here. There's going to be floodplains on grasslands and plains and other things next to rivers, where when the river, those are the areas that the river could flood into, and when it doesn't always flood into all of those every time it floods. It just floods into certain ones at random. But each time it floods into those, it will then increase the fertility of those areas. So you want to build near them, but also understand that there's a risk. There's a risk with that. You might have to rebuild some stuff. Again, I talked about the dam that you can put up to improve and mitigate the effects as well. But again, obviously they're going to have richer, more fertile soil, which is going to be really awesome. Let's see here. Volcanoes, floodplains. Nothing else there. Another exciting new environment effect is the addition of volcanoes. We talked about that a little bit. They offer some of the same risk-reward decisions as floods, with eruptions occurring periodically. When you see the magma spilling down the side of one of these, you're going to, there's going to be damage to adjacent tiles. So it looks like the volcanoes are limited to just the adjacent tiles, which that's fair. I don't know that it going halfway across the map, because obviously each tile of this map is a pretty far distance. So I think just one tile away is a pretty good way to control that, at least a little bit. Let's see here. Where are we at? We've always had continents in Civ 6, but the geology didn't necessarily correspond to continental boundaries. That's another thing that they mentioned. So the way the continents are going to work is you're going to expect to see a lot more of these volcanoes and things like that, and mountain ranges along the borders of continents that are next to each other. So the continents aren't just some random line that's drawn somewhere that affects some of your policies and things like that. It's more of this is actually going to help the geography and kind of form more of those volcanoes. And geothermal fissures is another thing that's in the game now. It's another thing that you can improve that will give you power and things like that. But it's just a little kind of they look like I don't think I see any here. There might be some right there. I can't tell. That might just be iron or something like that. But they're just like little steam vents that you see on the map. We've also taken all volcanoes we had in our natural wonder system and made them really powerful. Oh, wow. That makes sense. I hadn't thought about that, but there are a few volcanoes in the natural wonder system. So now that those are actual living things instead of just a static placeholder there, that's kind of cool. As we added more significance to those geographic features, we thought there'd be a way to identify them. That's another thing. They added a way to, and they don't see that on this map actually, but they just don't have it turned on. But the rivers and the mountains and or specifically the rivers and the volcanoes, they have names now, named based on who was first exploring that area. And so I think the demo they showed today, it was England, and it had the Thames River, right next to England. So it's going to be a way to identify where these natural disasters are occurring, as well as kind of maybe give you a hint on who's settling near you. If you see a mountain range suddenly or a volcano suddenly have a name pop up, and it looks very Russian, well, then you're probably going to have Russia nearby. So I think that's kind of an interesting kind of thing. Of course, you wouldn't actually know the name of that until you met them, I suppose, but that's minor details. Let's see here. Egypt's Russian River, the waterway will officially be designated as the Nile River. Of course, this gets tricky when a civ like Netherlands discovers a volcano. In that case, it will be named for a civ that isn't in the current game. Isn't in the current game? I'm not sure what that means, but that's okay. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm sure I'm misreading that. During Gathering Storm development, we had floods and volcanoes working, but we decided the world wouldn't truly be alive without adding in some sort of weather system. And that's kind of probably the lead into the tornadoes that we saw at the beginning. So we had a drought and 4 different kinds of storms to spread the risk of succumbing to natural disaster across the map. We had fun in adding some of the historical impacts you might imagine storms would entail. So now we have hurricanes that can sink ships at sea. Oh, wow. Dust storms sweeping across the deserts and choking nearby cities, and blizzards in Russian terrain being particularly dangerous for invading armies. And they didn't mention that. The Russian armies, and it's just kind of a little nuance, little change in kind of some of the Russian bonuses, but the Russian armies will not be affected by blizzards, but the enemies that are in Russian territory will be affected even more by blizzards than they normally would. So it kind of plays that whole, don't go to war in Russia during the wintertime type of thing, So that's going to be an interesting, kind of change to your strategy. You always run that risk of there being a blizzard in the Russian territory. Do you invade them or not? So, and then, of course, it talks about how dust storms and hurricanes can be valuable in adding fertility to affected tiles. So even the storms, not just the other natural disasters, but even the storms themselves would also, potentially provide some bonus. Taking the world by storm. But although the Earth has thrown many challenges our way, mankind continues to adapt. We've got the dam district that you mentioned as one of the earliest historic examples of our work to harness the power and unpredictability of nature. Finishing a dam in a city is great. It provides the city with a nice reservoir that boosts your housing and amenities. Okay, so we knew housing would probably be the case. Amenities is interesting. That makes sense. And later in the game, you can add hydroelectric station to your dam to generate clean electricity as part of the power system added with gathering the storm. So that's going to be good. I mean, how that electricity and how that power kind of plays into this, we'll have to see when they give us some more information later on. The addition of the canal district. So where is a canal district? In fact, this is what this is right here. Interesting. I knew I saw this in one of the live stream today. This little tidbit right here, when you put a city right next to the sea, but we did not see any evidence of this yet. But now we can see that. In fact, there is. Is this? That looks like a Brazilian battleship, but maybe it's just a regular battleship. But yeah, we can see a ship going through here. That is really cool. So in fact. This is not what I expected. I did not expect canals to work this far away, quite honestly. I thought maybe, okay, now you have a way to put a canal in a single tile, kind of like we do canal cities now, but you don't have to have a city there. I thought honestly, I thought that's what it was going to be. But this is obviously going to be a lot more impactful in the sense that you could now bridge the gap across 3 tiles here. Interesting. So where are we at? Where's the canal? Okay, here we go. This is something we've seen asked for again and again. We're excited to bring it to fruition in this expansion. There are actually 3 parts to this. First, we're taking our players' existing use of cities on 1 tile-wide isthmuses, what our fans call canal cities. Obviously, we've seen those. And officially recognize these features with the art on the map. Cool. So we actually get art for our canal cities on the map. That is awesome. The second part is the introduction of the canal district. It's another tile that provides navigation, and since you can connect into cities, you can actually use 2 of them around a city center to create a 3 tile wide path between bodies of water. So here on the Civ 16, we've heard about a plan, a canal. Okay, obviously. So that we felt it pretty impressive to have a Panama Canal Wonder. This is an achievement in Gathering Storm for creating a full 7 tile navigable path using canal district cities and this wonder together. Oh, wow. So it sounds like the canal district itself is limited to, you have the city and 2 more. And then I wonder if you could put the Panama Canal, is it a certain size or is it a single district? And if it's a single district, that must mean that, like, say, if I have this city and 2 canals, and then another city over, on the right side with 2 canals, I could put Panama Canal in the middle, and therefore I have 7 tiles wide of canals. Oh, wow. That's going to make getting across around continents so much interesting. It's more interesting. I mean, that's pretty significant, I'll be honest. We'll see how it plays out. But wow, I mean, so many times you have to go all the way around. Your war is slowed down and everything's just so bad. But being able to go through those canals, I mean, we know how strong canal cities on just a single tile are today. Having it be, 6, 7 tiles long. Wow. Okay, that's going to be interesting. You can also create both mountain tunnels and railroads. Really? Okay. Railroads is... I mean, quite honestly, I'm surprised it's been in every other game. I guess I kind of just assumed that railroads was the thing that, as your roads got more improved, as you went through eras, that railroads just kind of, it was there, hidden behind them. That's how your things were going faster. There's just kind of built-in railroads or something like that. I never really paid attention to it. But it sounds like there are going to be an explicit railroad now with mountain tunnels, which mountain tunnels is going to be good. A way for me to get through mountains, maybe is a way to, although it may just be opening up your enemies to be able to go through those mountains as well. Those mountain tunnels. So we'll see how that works. But definitely I like the idea of being able to get through mountains. Makes it a lot, nicer to be able to have a lot of those mountains around you. Kind of help defend, but still not be trapped in there, if you will. Yeah, units and trade goods across the map, that's huge. Voiding the great mistake. Of course, things are not always that easy, and there are some conflicts between mankind and our planet. So introducing global warming, I can't talk, and climate change made sense in an expansion focused on interactions with the planet. It has also mapped well to our goal to add depth to the second half of the game. So obviously the decisions we make early in the game are going to make an impact on the world in the later parts of the game, for better or for worse. And so, maybe you don't care. Maybe you intentionally do things because you're an inland, civilization, and you want to rise those waters. They mentioned that on the stream. You want to rise those waters to affect your coastal, enemies, if you will. So there's some interesting impacts to this. Or you may have to be worried about them doing the same to you. How do you defend against that? Kind of another thought as well. You can use the power system to improve the effectiveness of some of your late game buildings. There are strategic resources that can be burned for fuel: coal, uranium, oil, but doing so will have adverse effects on CO2 level in the world, impact global temperature of the planet. Now, they showed this on one of the screens, and I'll see if I can capture that here. Maybe I'll show it or not. But there's a little screenshot that shows you what that temperature level is and kind of all the different, natural disasters, what the water level is and stuff like that. So it's a very easy way to see kind of what the state is at any given time. This increases the chance of flooding and storms. Sea levels can rise and may melt the polar ice caps. As we settle coastal cities, it's important to keep an eye on their level of risk with rising sea levels, just in case you or your neighbors become reliant on strategic resources for power. But additional research will provide alternative options: geothermal energy, wind farms, solar farms, and more. So obviously ways to make it cleaner. We've seen similar things like this. Was Alpha Centauri that had kind of a similar type of system? I can't remember, but stuff like that. But I don't remember if it impacted the world quite to this degree. There was a little bit of impact, if I remember right, but it's been so many years since I played Alpha Centauri. Is there anything here that we can see that's jumping out at us that's different, obviously, besides the very obvious canal? I don't see anything here on the edges. There's another dam over here. We've seen that in the other screenshot. Railroad tunnel, maybe? That looks like it comes out on this side over here. Really? So it looks like this tunnel goes through this mountain and comes out over here, and you can see the little bits of the railroad there and coming out the bottom here. I assumed they would just be able to go through a single mountain tile, but this was going through like 3 of them. That's not quite what I was expecting, but that's kind of cool. Little ironclad there. I don't see anything else jumping out at me. There's probably things here that actually, I guess that's the same. I thought that factory looked a little bit different, but maybe that's the way the factory's always looked. But I wonder if the factory changes based on what kind of power you're using or something, because this one obviously seems like it's burning coal. So that may be the case. But anyway, let's keep going. Now we're only halfway through this. Already a 20-minute video plus 5 minutes on the intro, 5-10 minutes on the intro. So it could be a little bit of a longer video. I hope you can bear with me. So we'll keep going here. Maybe working all this out together. Diplomatic victory. So that's going to be something that's coming back as well, along with the World Congress. So another victory type. We've seen diplomatic victory in the past. We've seen World Congress in the past. I assume it's going to work similar. Why change something that kind of works? But hopefully there's going to be some new coolness that we haven't seen before. That's special to Civ 6. Favor is a new form of currency that track your diplomatic goodwill. And I've saw in the live stream that there's a way to earn favor and trade it for things. You could trade it for gold or just trade goods. It's a tradable commodity, and you can accrue that favor up and then spend it at the World Congress and things like that. Replace the warmonger score with grievances. Okay. This acts as a tug of war between a pair of players. If you've ever been at the receiving end of a surprise attack and retaliated by taking a few cities, you'll appreciate how this system has been updated. The other leaders were now likely to feel that such a counter-move was entirely appropriate. Because that's usually what I've done that a lot. You attack me, all right, your penalty is I'm going to take 2 of your cities, 3 of your cities, whatever, but it's like, oh, you're a warmonger. Well, I'm not the warmonger. He attacked me first. So it's going to be cool to see if this kind of comes into play a little bit more. In the World Congress, you'll be able to vote using favor on resolutions. We've seen resolutions again, ban this trade good, ban this, probably ban this, coal production or things like that. That's really, if that's what you're depending on and suddenly it gets banned, well, then you have to change your entire strategy. I assume stuff like that's going to be in play. Vote to ban fur. Okay, yeah, exactly, right there. I kept reading the sentence. Vote to ban furs or chopping rainforest. Interesting. Literally, you cannot chop the rainforest. Fascinating. Ban construction in a certain district? Really? That's going to be rough sometimes. Can you imagine banning something that is somebody's special district or a special building in their district, that could be a really easy way to really limit a certain type of player or something like that, a certain civilization based on what their abilities are. Global competitions, we've seen this before as well, world fairs, world games. The disaster relief is new, obviously, with the new disasters. You're going to be able to, if you're the guy that's always coming to the rescue of other people, you're going to be able to get more favor that way. And then, of course, emergencies. Maybe you did take a city-state. Well, you have enough favor, you can convince everybody that, just look the other way. We don't need an emergency right now. So that's going to be kind of interesting. Granting points towards victory. You can also receive points towards this victory from winning disaster relief competitions and Nobel Peace Prizes. We've seen Nobel Peace Prizes, I think, before, haven't we? Yeah, that's a thing, right? Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But anyway, I can understand that concept. That's not a hard concept to understand. If you're the guy that's always, maybe you're the guy that's super clean on energy or something like that. Maybe there's a Peace Prize or something like that. Couple interesting things in this screenshot that I'm already seeing. I'm going to kind of start here at the top and just see if we can kind of get down to some very obvious ones here at the bottom. But it looks like there's another canal here. What is that? Is that a dam? I don't think that's a dam. That almost looks like just some sort of fortification or wall or something. I'm not sure. Up there on the top edge. It looks like we have some railroads and stuff like that coming through. I'm actually not sure what this is here in the middle. There's an antenna there, but I'm not sure what else we're seeing there. And there's also a tower over here. It doesn't look like an encampment or an airport or anything. Oh, no, I know what that is. That's solar. I can see the solar panels now. That's a solar collection thing. It looks like those are the solar panels. And then we have the wind farms. Okay, so that makes sense. Obviously, we've seen the rocket tiles before. This just looks like a regular city park that one of the governors can give you. This looks like a different type of power here. So we haven't seen that one before. We got this little water something. I'm not sure what this is, but that looks like a new, maybe either district or improvement or something of that effect. We do have wow, Golden Gate Bridge. Wow, I was like, what am I trying to say? We have the bridge here over the water. I wonder, does that actually allow us to pass across that? I mean, that is a single tile of water that we're going across. I wonder if that's I would assume it would be. Why not? But an actual way to get across that water there. That's kind of cool. And then, of course, we have this very obvious, winter park here, skiing and stuff like that. So what is that going to give us? Probably, amenities or something of that effect. Maybe tourism. Actually, probably very likely tourism. Maybe similar to how the seaside resort works, but maybe you could put these on mountains or something like that. That's going to be kind of an interesting addition. Looks like we have nuclear power over here. There's a drone fighter just happened to be flying around right there. Another one of these tunnels that looks like it goes from over here all the way to the west side. So it looks like that's a 2-tile tunnel. We've seen that before. I don't see anything else. I think these ships, I don't know that these ships are doing anything special that we've not seen before. But, the whole concept of canal cities, it just occurred to me, is going to make it a lot better, or maybe not dumb. Is maybe a better way to put it, to put harbors inside like lakes and stuff like that. Before it's like, why would you put a harbor in a little 4, 5, 6-tile lake? You have no way of getting those ships out. Well, now you would. Now you could build it internally and then have a way to get out to the ocean. So that could be a kind of cool way to play. All right, predicting the future. The design team was able to do something a little bit different in Gathering the Storm. I keep saying Gathering the Storm. It's Gathering Storm. And added a new era of techs and civics, including some speculative technologies. As we cannot predict the future, we decided that there would be no single path through this era. But instead, these new branches of the trees would have a bit of randomization to them. This guy, he says he's not ready to provide specifics just yet, but confirmed that yes, I do have some new items unlocking these late eras that spice up the present science, culture, and domination victories in fun new directions. Fascinating. So there is going to be a new era on the end. Like I said, instead of just doing that infinite future tech, maybe there will still be that at the very, very end, but they're going to put a new era there that's kind of a future era that has randomization where you don't actually know which path is going to end up with which text and things like that. So it adds a little bit of variance, to kind of getting some of those late game, new technologies and new features and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be, add some replayability to the game. All of your late eras are not going to always be the same, or always be that boring. Just get to that final future tech and just go on for infinity. So I think this is cool. It's going to be interesting to see how that actually applies to some of those late game, changes that you make, and especially with the world itself coming alive, possibly even more in the late game than it did in the early game. So, who can it be now? New systems, exciting new leaders, civilizations in the coming months. So we're probably going to have that regular weekly cycle of new civilizations that we're going to be able to talk about. So I will definitely be having those videos coming up as I see them. Anything else here? Not really. Just this. Obviously, we're seeing a volcano actively erupting here, and that looks really cool. Very, very nice effect here of just explosions all around. He did say that the wonders are not damageable by natural disasters, and you could go several different directions with that. Obviously, we know that wonders can be damaged by nuclear explosions, so I think they could have put a damaging effect for wonders from natural disasters as well. But it's probably okay. I mean, there's enough disaster going on when these natural disasters happen that I guess it's okay that the wonders themselves don't get damaged as well. But I think that would have been fine if they had, and just we just have to repair them back up inside the city. It would have been fine. But I think this is it's probably okay either way. But maybe I'm kind of leaning towards I wish they were all damaged as well, because a lot more of destruction and just craziness. But I think it's still going to be an okay balance in the end. All right, so here's we go. In summary, environmental effects. Obviously, we talked about this. All the different storms, blizzards, sandstorms, tornadoes, and hurricanes. We have climate change, floods, droughts. They did say that droughts kind of really specifically target areas that have, basically no resources on them. So if you clear out a whole bunch of forest around you, you could actually trigger a drought in that area. Power and consumable resources. So coal, oil, things like that are going to be consumable. You're going to consume them for power, so you can improve some of your production and things like that. But you're also going to need those for those units like tanks and things like that require oil. You might have to have oil to build it initially, but also a kind of an oil tax to keep it running. And so you're going to have a lot of these resources, available. But the more of them you use, the worse that the temperature gets, and the worse that the ice caps and the sea levels kind of get as well. So give and take. It's kind of interesting. Engineering projects. Shape the world around you, your empire, to overcome unfavorable land conditions by making improvements like canals, dams, tunnels, and railroads. When settling cities, consider the flood risk to coastal lowland areas. But keep in mind that in the late game, new technologies like flood barriers can be used to protect these tiles. So early game risk to get late game, reward. How do you balance that? And maybe you don't always put a city next to a river, or maybe you do. Who knows? We'll have to see kind of how that plays into the balance of things. Okay, obviously we talked about World Congress. I'm not really going to dwell on this too much because I think World Congress, again, is a system we've seen before. I'm excited to have it back. I'm glad it's back. But I don't know if there's anything new to the civilization thing like the natural resources or natural disasters, I should say, are things like that. 21st century technologies and civics. We did talk about that, the randomization there, being able to combat some of the environmental effects, new leaders and civs, 8 new civilizations. I think there's 9 new leaders, 9 new unique units, 4 unique buildings, 3 unique improvements, 2 unique districts, and 1 unique governor. Oh. So wait a minute, let's see here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 10 total things here that they're listing, which is obviously more than just the 9 civs, not 9 leaders that they're introducing. So maybe one of these leaders or civilizations gets a double dip of something. It's going to be interesting to see. New scenarios, the Black Death. Black Death ravaged Europe and Western Asia in the mid-14th century, killing a greater share of the population than any other event in world history. The pandemic killed millions, ruined economies, upended political dynasties, and transformed the face of the Western world. Your task is to lead your nation through the calamity, keep your population alive, your economy strong, and your faith unshaken amidst a world of terror and desperation. So, no, this is interesting. Obviously, plague is not something that they've talked about. That is, in a way, kind of a natural disaster, kind of in its own way, but not part of this natural disaster system. So it's only going to be exclusive to this scenario. But I could see how they can leverage that natural disaster system to have something like this plague idea. It would have actually been interesting to have more of that, but I think it's going to be good to keep it confined to this scenario. It might be an interesting scenario to try out. And of course, we have War Machine, kind of talking about World War I. But yeah, it's going to be interesting as well to see how that plays out. I like the scenarios a lot, obviously, and definitely be interesting to try those out as well. More new content, 7 new world wonders, 7 natural wonders, 18 new units, 15 new improvements, 9 new buildings, 5 new districts, 2 new city sets. Wonder what that's referring to specifically. 9 new techs and 10 new civics have been added. Lots and lots of stuff being added. The improved gameplay systems. The espionage system has been enhanced with new options. The cultural and science victories have been updated, so that's going to be cool to see kind of how those updates occur. New historic moments have been added, and additional improvements have been made to other existing systems. A couple of those points that can be made. One, there's now a queue system in your city building queue. They did say there were some challenges of how to work that into units that need certain resources, or how you're going to place districts and put those in a queue. But obviously we've been needing a queue for a long time. At least Civ 5 had a queue. I don't remember the other ones, if they had queues at the beginning or not. But there's obviously been lots of mods that added queues, and queues is just a big part of this. And the ability to kind of see a summary view of your entire empire and what's in the queue for all of your cities is going to be useful as well for those just really large empires that you get later in the game. But yeah, no, the queue system is going to be awesome. What other systems did they say they improved? It's already talking about here, different improvements to some of the victory types and things of that nature. So we'll see. It's going to be really, really cool. I'm looking forward to this. Honestly, I think what all of this stuff does is it's going to make your deity games, or just your higher difficulty games, anything above Prince or anything like that. If you start, there's actually going to be a variable on how severe you want to make the disasters. You can make them just kind of baseline, where probably once per game, everything that could have a disaster just has a disaster just once, something like that, that your river's going to eventually flood once. Once it floods, then you're probably safe for the rest of the game, type of thing. Or you can kind of, there's a scale of, 4 or 5 different levels, but the highest level is, you're thinking flood, every other turn or something. I don't know if it's that frequent, but like a lot higher chance of things reproduce offenders, if you will. Your volcano could erupt multiple times throughout the game, or, they did want to, in the lower, levels of that, spread out. Like if you've already got a river eruption here, maybe the next volcano eruption will be somewhere else. But in, the highest level of that, the highest, most chaotic level, maybe you have a river eruption or river overflowing, but then that volcano right next to you could also, go off, pretty quickly. And you're just dealing with disaster after disaster. The fact that the map itself can be an enemy now, is going to make games a lot more challenging. Is that an excuse to not improve the AI? No. I'm hoping that they do improve the AI as well. Obviously, the AI has to be smart enough to deal with these disasters itself. You throw more systems at the game, your AI has to deal with those systems. So hopefully the AI is getting improvements across the board, but as well as these new systems. But I think the additional challenge of the map, if you max out that just even at the lowest level, but especially if you max it out, you're going to be dealing with a much more challenging game over the course of the game. And I think that's going to kind of really up the difficulty level for players that are looking for something new and things like that. So I think I think the very first game I play will probably be maxed out disasters, just to see it, just to see what happens and see what we can do with that. But we'll kind of see as more information comes out. But anyway, I think this video has gone on quite long enough. I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to Civilization 6 Gathering Storm. I think it's a cool concept. It's a concept we have not seen before, with the world and the map itself changing and kind of being affecting and being kind of, like I said, another player that you're playing against in a weird sense. So I think it's going to be a cool system if done correctly. Usually, by the time we get to the third, or I should say the second expansion, the third iteration of a civilization, the Civilization game itself has gotten really, really good. Civ 5 got really awesome once Brave New World and stuff like that came out. Actually, I think just any expansion with Civ, the base games are usually really good, but the expansions build on those so well that by the time you get to the last expansion, I'm not saying that this is the last expansion, but it's possible. But it's at least, we've gotten a couple of, we've gotten one expansion already. We've got the base game in front of us. So now they're adding even more systems on top of that. Usually by the time we get to this level in Civilization games historically, we're usually getting a really good game. And so I'm looking forward to this being a really good version of Civilization. Will it put it at the top of the list? I don't know. I'm enjoying Civilization 6 today with the current expansion. I think this will just add even more excitement and variance to the game. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you if you don't agree with my thoughts or my feelings, let me know. I know I did a lot of just kind of reading through and stuff like that, but hopefully there was some things that we can discuss. Please, comment in the put comments in the comment below about kind of what your thoughts are, your feelings are, and we'll definitely have some more of these videos as we get some more of these features and civilizations announced to us over the coming weeks. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are as well. Thank you and goodbye.